function of the tank? It's pretty self-explanatory.
Sure. I mean, it's the, for those of you who don't know, it's nice the picture's up on the screen right now. The tanks to the right of what we call the primary weir observation house. So to the right of that building, those are the tanks where we're going to be replacing chain and flights on the primary settling tanks. We've already done a few tanks previously, contract with the same contractor to replace the remaining chain and flights.
Question, the chain I understand, having seen the operation, but I didn't understand where the word flight came from.
Yeah, there's a best way to use the word is a skimmer that skims the top and bottom of the tank to take photos off the top and sludge off the bottom.
How long does that system typically last?
Usually 25 to 30 years.
Really that long?
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Motion to approve the consent agenda, which is both items. Motion by Mr. Beal, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Caldarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving along to new business. Mr. Carl, customer service migration.
So we wanted to take the time to provide, I know we're in budget planning process, but we wanted to take the time this evening to brief the board on where we're at with respect to our customer care system upgrade. If you remember, a few months ago, we noted that Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, who currently provides our customer care system, is getting out of the customer care system business. So that partnership is going to end, so we had to go out to bid to find a new team to help build out our customer care upgrade. We're about halfway through the project, and we've answered some of the large questions about what might need to be updated, for example, account numbers, and we're going to have our communications manager, Mr. Robertson, give an update on where we're at on the program because it is public facing. We want the board to be apprised of where we're at and where we're going.
So good evening, everybody. Justin sort of saved me the trouble of explaining the background behind how GCWW is getting out of the customer service business. And as you all are aware, we are upgrading our customer care system. So we wanted to take some time, give you some background on sort of how AlexRenew customer service functions today, the parts that are transitioning, sort of a status as to how the project's going so far, and then also highlight some of the benefits that the new system is going to have for our customers. So if you look at the screen here, you'll see essentially 4 parties that are responsible right now for AlexRenew's customer service. You have GCWW, Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. Right now they have what they call a CC&B platform that covers billing, payment processing, our online portal, which is sort of the digital payment portal that you go to when you click through on AlexRenew.com. And they also handle our call center services. So up until very recently, GCWW also handled our payment plans. Those have since transitioned to Promise, who you see here at the bottom of the screen. So Promise now manages those payment plans. That's not necessarily part of this migration at this point. Virginia American Water, I'm sure you all are aware, connects and disconnects basically water to customers in Alexandria. They share that information with us, and our system is directly connected to theirs. They also handle our disconnections for non-payment as well. So where AlexRenew sort of fits in there is we coordinate all of those efforts between those groups. We also implement all the policies and procedures that AlexRenew follows with each one of these parties. We handle all the reporting internally and the quality control of those reports and make sure that the data that we're getting is valid. If you focus on just the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks piece here to the left of the screen, that's really the piece that's transitioning as part of this customer service migration. Okay? So that's billing, payment processing, call center services, the online portal. That's all transitioning from GCWW to Enterprise Solutions Consulting, or ESC as we more commonly refer to them. Just a little background on ESC. they're really laser focused on providing customer service solutions for utilities across the country. That's their bread and butter. They only serve utilities. They come from an Oracle-based customer care system, which is nice to know because our system right now is Oracle-based, which makes the transition from one Oracle system to another much easier. They do have some products that they allow us to sort of have input on or customize, including the portal, the bills, that sort of thing. So far, they've been outstanding to work with, incorporated all of our feedback, really been a pleasure. They also offer more payment options than GCWW does, including Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal. So just sort of another added benefit. When we started looking at this project, these are a few of the components that you want to plan for. They are sort of in order of like sequencing how they would roll out. But basically, you want to be able to plan the project ahead of time so that you incorporate all of these things. That includes data validation, transfer, user interface, system integrations. That's sort of where we're at in the project right now. We've covered most of these. Next up, you have payment and billing processes, reports, and then finally, you kind of put the bow on top with the testing and training and customer communications. I'm going to breeze over these because we kind of cover them more in depth later in the presentation, but just to give you sort of an idea of what we looked at when we initially started the project. So I thought it would be nice to sort of highlight some of the things that are going to stay the same with the system and some of the things that are going to change. And I think what's going to be really positive about this migration is that the things that our customers have told us they like consistently are essentially staying the same. And the things that they've asked for, a lot of them are kind of answered with this upgrade. So even though we're doing it out of necessity because GCWW's decided to get out of the customer service building our business, it's really going to be a positive thing for our customers. So the first thing I want to highlight is we get a lot of compliments on our bill format, actually, like pretty frequently. So we worked with ESC to sort of keep that format consistent, and that way our customers aren't jarred by the transition and we don't get unnecessary complaints when we have positive feedback. They also handle our inserts moving forward, and those won't change because we're generating the files that we're sending to GCWW right now, and we'll do the same with ESC. So both our bill and the inserts will essentially remain the same to customers. Our call center services, for all intents and purposes, will be the same if you call in. They'll have the similar scripts, ESCs working with GCWW to sort of make sure that's a seamless transition. And maybe the biggest win out of this whole migration is that account numbers are changing over, and they're going to be consistent. So what that means basically is if account numbers had changed and customers had previously saved that information in their own banking institute, so say you make your payments through Truist or SunTrust, you save that account number. If we had to change our account numbers moving forward, every customer would have to proactively change their account number or their payment would not process. So the fact that these are staying the same is a huge win for us. It means we'll absolutely have more payments come in without having to communicate that and change it out.
So automatic bill pay is just seamless.
So right now, we believe that we can transition the auto pay option as well from Kubra, who's the current payment provider as well. So there's sort of two things going on there that are both wins, but we know for sure the account number can transfer. The new, oh yeah, sorry.
With the existing system, you talked about new ideas, but do we have a sense of complaints, of where the complaints were historically, since we did? I mean, there had to be some.
Yeah. So we track complaints through sort of a number of ways because we get them through via email. We also get them through the call center, and they share that information with us. And there's a few, I'll say, requests we've gotten, and actually the next piece sort of covers one of the main complaints. The biggest request that we get is actually that we don't currently have credit card as an auto pay feature. So right now in GCWW, you can set auto pay, but you have to use a checking account. And this, when we move forward and we switch to ESC, you will be able to use a credit card, which is actually our #1 complaint. So that's an awesome win for us. Another request we get very often is chat, which is also a new feature that will be delivered through ESC. If you log into the platform, you'll be able to chat with the rep live, which is a nice feature as well.
We have a person downstairs who deals with calls that come in, and the provider also has it. Who handles what?
So typically the calls, they actually go through what they call an IVR at the front desk. And when they click that they want customer service, it actually transfers them to GCWW right now, which provides call center services. If somebody comes into the office, then they see Hans. And occasionally somebody will try to bypass the whole call center system, basically. Hans will chat with them. But for the most part, the way the phone system's set up is to direct them to the call center. We also worked with ESC to improve the functionality on both a phone and the computer. The new customer payment portal is really a great addition as well. It's smooth, it looks great, it functions well. We got a few additional features in there in terms of notifications and things like that that we can incorporate. So it's really a great upgrade. And then the final thing I want to note is our hours actually are longer with ESC. So right now they're 7:30 to 5. Moving forward, they'll be 6 to 6. So that's another kind of nice benefit we get by switching to ESC.
Where is the software set? Is the vendor going to handle basically the software, any upgrades, any glitches, things of that sort?
Yeah, so ESC basically delivers us a turnkey solution. They manage the in-product, they manage all the upgrades, they manage basically the integration of their call center with the product itself, which is a really nice feature as well. It's sort of a, here you go, ready to use turnkey solution.
It's like having a separate data department that's private second. Do they then
Which
mail out
is-
the bills as well?
Yes, so they mail out all the bills and they handle any inserts that we want as well. We just have to send them the file.
Okay, on your first slide, you had Promise. Is that an outfit or
So
and how do they fit into this?
So Promise handles our payment arrangements. They also are distributing LiWAP, which you may remember from previous discussions. So we have to integrate Promise's payment arrangement data into the new ESC platform. So they're on a lot of calls with us in that process. But they're actually the front-facing form that you would sign up for if you want a payment arrangement. So like from our website, you would go to Promise's website, create a payment arrangement. That information is then shared to will be shared to ESC. Right
So
now,
Promise is a corporation of some type?
yes. They're one of the third-party vendors.
Okay.
So this is sort of a timeline of where we are now. It's broken down by sprints and phases. So when we began planning this project, this was a recommendation by ESC as well as Raftellus, and they recommended we break it down into sprints and phases that sort of run concurrently. If you look at this chart, you can see we're sort of in this range here around May. We've completed the preliminary planning, technical upgrade. Right now, we're sort of wrapping up the customer portal, the start service, and the customer management piece. Next up, we have billing and deduct meters, payments, collections, and then reporting and trading.
Could you explain what the start-stop service is?
Sure. So start-stop service is anytime a customer begins service, basically with Virginia American Water, and then the way that information is transitioned to our customer service database. And here at the bottom, you can see this is sort of the timeline for the communications campaign. Best practice for a communications campaign around customer service is to start about 60 days out. We're gonna stretch that to 90. Start soft. We don't have a lot that we have to ask customers to change during this project, which is a good thing. But we still want to communicate any change to our customers so they're aware. So the next steps, as I just kind of touched on, billing and payment and collections and reports are started next up on the sprints. The part that I want to touch on a little bit more on this slide is the training and customer communication. In my experience anyway, training has been essential for especially the customer service department, so that they're aware of how they can answer questions moving forward for both procedures and just navigating like the new application for them. So one of the things that's great about ESC, and I kind of talked about this earlier, is ESC has sort of a uniform portal that we were able to customize a little bit, but the customer service center that works with ESC is very used to that portal. So they have basically variations of the same customer portal that they're extremely used to, adept at using, and when customers call, they'll be able to navigate it very easily, which makes training the customer service department a lot easier. As far as customer communication goes, like I said, we're going to start 90 days out. We're going to sort of start soft and then get a little bit more aggressive as we get closer to that deadline of go live. That's all I have for you all. But if you have any questions, yeah.
By the way, I'm enormously relieved I did not know we were using a provider. I thought we were installing our own CRM tool.
No.
So you answered.
Something we do not have to manage.
We don't have to worry about Oracle upgrades.
Yeah. No.
That sort of thing. Couple things. Service level metrics and things are built into the contract with ESC.
Yes. So, and they've built in some additional call center reps that we don't normally have right now. So we actually get additional reps through the transition, which is a nice touch. We'll continue to survey customers. We have metrics that they're supposed to be able to, like the number of calls are supposed to be bland and that sort of thing. It's all built into the contract.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember sort of the daily or weekly call volumes. Do you know off the top of your head, just ballpark?
Yeah, so it's
Not big numbers.
no, it's really low. It's something like 800 calls a month, I think. Which, like, I work for an electric utility. I've worked for a customer service department there. If we got 800 calls a day, I would have been happy. That would have been a low number. So just that put that at scale.
764 in the last month.
164?
764.
761, okay.
We got 2,100 calls in a single day one time.
And I would bet you of the 764, many of those are the same person calling multiple.
For sure. I mean, the other thing we have going to our benefit in this project is that there's 300,000 customers, but there's only about 30,000 account holders. So you don't have that many people that are going to call in because of this. That's why our call volume is so much lower than other utilities as well.
And what is the nature of the call? Just they want questions about their bill.
Usually it's a
They
bill
use this
question.
much, really use this much water and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The average call time, Matt, is 30 seconds.
Pretty sad.
Did I use as much water as you did?
Wow. Interesting. Any questions? Oh, Suzanne.
What's the change in the cost for converting to a different provider?
So actually, in the long run, we'll save a little bit of money. There's an initial upfront cost, and then it's about $200,000 less a year, I think.
How long is the contract?
I believe I don't know the answer to that offhand. So I'd have to double check.
So one final question. ESC, I've never heard of them, but I suspect they do pretty good business. Any idea of other customers they have, other utilities they serve?
So the last organization they just launched was the city of Chattanooga. They have a few large city clients as well. They basically provide us a map. They have over 30 utility clients across the country. To give you some idea.
So many different time zones as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they're located again where?
They're located in California.
In California.
And 6 to 6. Very good briefing, by the way. Any questions?
Just one last one. They don't use call centers that are offshore.
Not offshore.
Okay.
They're in the States. I can't remember off the top of my head which state it's in. They're not out of California. The call center's on the East Coast somewhere.
Sometimes when I go to a call center, get someone who can barely speak English. It's really frustrating.
It's within the states.
Okay.
Well, that can still happen.
Mumbai.
Very good. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right on to new business. We are in the middle of debt ceiling crisis. Seems to be perennial, and we have to respond to it. Mr. Carl, do you want to take us through the line of credit financing options?
Sure. Most of the board was here back in 2021 where we put our $30 million line of credit in place to help fund construction activities on RiverRenew in case we weren't able to draw on one of the loans. Remember, the loans came in February 2021, just, a few months after we issued notice to proceed in the tunnel project. So we had the ability to draw on the line of credit as a stopgap to get from our notice of award through the first couple months of construction. What we're proposing to do, looking ahead, I guess the important thing to note is we're finalizing the draws on our $186 million Virginia Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. We're requisitioning the last $12 million of that revolving loan fund now to help fund RiverRenew construction. So we'll be finished completely with the state revolving loan fund money, which means the rest of the project we need to transition over to our $321 million WIFIA loan, which is through the EPA and through the federal government. Our concern, and this is a extra precaution we're taking, is that were there to be a government shutdown, not the US government hitting the debt ceiling capacity, but if there were a shutdown, the concern is we would not be able to draw on WIFIA to pay for construction activities which need to keep moving forward to stay on schedule. So what we're proposing to do is, as an emergency situation, is extend that line of credit from $30 million to $60 million to give us the flexibility, worst case scenario, that we needed to draw on it to be able to keep construction moving. We're not anticipating needing to do that, but we want to have that available if needed. Just to give you some idea where we're at right now on cash, we've got around $55 million right now of cash that we're spending on RiverRenew, somewhere around $8 million a month currently on construction. So that additional line would be only used if for some reason we ran out of cash and the government was shut down for an extended period. The last shutdown was 2 months. So we, again, don't anticipate needing to use it. We just want to have it available if needed. I would like to mention that the current line has about a balance of $22 million on it. So we won't have a full $60 million. We'll have somewhere around $38 million to use. And if we were to spend down all the cash, it would, that would last us about 4 to 5 months after spending the cash down.
If we have a government shutdown, it's 4 or 5 months long, there will be a lot bigger problem.
Correct. Yes.
But this is a very prudent course of action. It's also nice to have this facility. It's financing facility.
As people administering WIFIA, are they advising you all to do this? Other utilities do likewise?
Our own internal team, we looked at it and we wanted to be able to manage the risk were there to be a shutdown, because we've experienced a shutdown once, and we just didn't want to have to go through that again and not be able to draw on WIFIA. We did reach out to our financial consultant Sarah Fry with PFM. She helped us with the resolution that's presented before you this evening, and also advised us not to have to come back to the board again once we get through this pinch point with the government knowing what's going to happen with the debt ceiling. Without board approval, we can take that line and reduce it back down to $30 million without coming back to the board. And that would be the plan. Once we get through what happens in June and July, we then have the capability, I have the authority then to, if approved, reduce that line back down to 30 million. Because there is a small fee associated with carrying open balance. It's 0.15% on the open balance, so we're 0.15. So we're somewhere around $5,700 a month for having that open line currently, if we were extended to 60 million. If we have more than half of the credit used on the line, then that
Can you explain a little bit how the interest rate is calculated?
it's 80%. It's 80% of the secured overnight financing rate, plus an additional 0.42%. So right now we're at somewhere around 4.62% on the interest rate. Historical average of this line for the last, this type of line for us has been around 1.6%. It's creeping up, obviously, as you know.
It's kind of like past history. That's
Right.
those
So-
low interest rates we'll never see again.
Right. I think what we anticipate is it could go up to a little over 5% before going back down. That's what our financial consultant is advising currently with respect to looking ahead. You know, average 1.6 could go up to a little over 5. That'd be the peak before it comes back down.
The way this resolution is written, if we get through debt ceiling with no shutdown, you can instantly drop it back down to 30.
Correct, and then what we would do then is draw them with you and pay off the remaining balance. We're still cleaning up things from previous finance, the previous financial group at AlexRenew. So what we would do is then draw them with you, pay off that remaining balance, and get it back down to 0, and keep it open for the duration of its life, just in case we need it. Yep.
And we can't draw from with you until we finish drawing on from the.
No, we literally got right before the meeting, our first $12 million from Whitfield.
Oh.
So it took 2 days. So very, very quick compared to DEQ took a little bit longer, Whitfield took 2 days.
I don't think it's officially in our bank, but we got it approved.
So we started drawing them with you already. So in order to kind of prepare for this, we looked at 2 things. We drew as much as we could on Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. We started drawing them with you to get as much cash in the bank as possible in case we do have this shutdown. We've got a good chunk of change in the bank to keep construction moving on ReneW. This is just a backup to a backup.
Support and belt suspenders in this environment. The other source of money is the ARPA dollars with DEQ. Where do we stand on getting that to closure?
So good news on that as well. Since the last board meeting, the grant agreement was sent by DEQ to the Attorney General. They're now just waiting on the grant agreement to come back to DEQ before they send it to us for signature.
How long did it take?
It's gone, according to DEQ, it's gone pretty quick in the past. So they don't, we're thinking weeks at the most, few weeks.
Signed quicker than just a couple of weeks might help us, depending on how the if there's a clawback provision. And how they define it, the degree which we've signed it, and I got a signed agreement with the state, adds another pair of suspenders to our protection system.
We're not the only utility that asked about the clawback to DEQ. DEQ has stated to us that those funds are, secured. They're DEQ funds, and the only funds that would be clawed back are those that weren't appropriated to a specific organization within the state. But since those have been appropriated, the loan manager at DEQ advised us that there's no chance for those funds to get clawed back. We also asked our financial consultant as well for her advice on it, Sarah Fry with BFM. Same advice from her, that there's not a chance for those funds to get clawed back at present.
They have been dispersed by Treasury to the state.
Correct. So DEQ, to answer that question, has already worked through the Treasury Department of the state. That was the holdup, getting the documentation in line for Treasury. That gave them the ability to release the grant agreement for review by the Attorney General before they send it over to AlexRenew for execution.
So he has the cash, the state has the cash
Correct.
already, yeah, which
Correct.
is ARPA, that's like some of ARPA is worth.
Mr. Jenks, did you get all of your questions in? And would you like to make the motion to approve the resolution?
The resolution is before us tonight, which authorizes the CEO to proceed to execute the line of credit. I make a motion we will approve this resolution.
Your second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Dickinson. All in favor? A very brief meeting tonight.
We'll reconvene.
We have we're meeting on that. The outcomes update, Mr. Carr.
Just maybe pointing out, if anybody does want to follow the customer calls, we always report them out on the second page of the CEO report, so they're on there, the top of the page, how many customer calls we received through customer service each month. Not much to update on the CEO report, but with the Revenue dashboard, wanted to touch on a few items. Noting overall on page 2, we're 41% complete overall on the project progress. We are still behind on the waterfront tunnel, and as a result, also at the AlexRenew wastewater plant for building out the pump station. So those are delays that are both on the critical path due to the late start with our tunneling operations. The good news, I think, with respect to tunneling, when we think about these jobs, we plan for around 40 feet per day. Production on the tunneling operations are reaching 100 to 120 feet per day, which is really solid from a production standpoint. We've been in the tunnel with the community with our tunnel tours and taking different agencies in and out of our tunnel. The tunnel looks great. We're at 3,000 feet to date.
So you must be well beyond Route 1.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go through our St. Mary's property that we have an agreement on.
Do we go through St. Mary's property or we go down Church Street?
On St. Mary's property, it's vacated. Church Street was vacated.
So it's the cemetery.
Yeah, but under former Church Street.
Mr. Carr, what's the impact of that kind of speed on the crews that are underground? There's a big difference between 40 feet a day and 100 feet a day.
On the
Crew.
So what we're seeing is, with that speed, we're seeing an uptick in traffic at the site. I think we're at 120 trucks a day getting muck off site. That's been the biggest impact. Yeah, that's what we planned for. But we're seeing that peak now.
And they're hauling down Eisenhower?
They go down Eisenhower and then cross the bridge to landfill.
Help me with a ring is 4 feet long. So you're doing 30 rings a day? That's incredible.
So you don't have any supply chain problems as far as the manufacturers of the rings?
No, the rings are being manufactured in Brandywine, Maryland. Trailer has a partnership with another company to build tunnel segments. They're being precast there. The biggest challenge was getting the forms for the segments delivered during COVID.
That's the same outfit that did it for, or is doing it for DC Water?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they have a continuous supply, or do they?
No, the segments are custom built for our machine and our tunnel size.
I mean, they have a supply.
They've got a segment plant, concrete plant.
Okay, I mean, they give you a good supply, so if you're going faster than what you scheduled.
Yeah, most of them are either sitting here on site or they're sitting in the yard at the segment plant.
Speaking of the tours, the feedback I've gotten, I was not on it, but from my wife, for one, was very positive. Have you gotten other feedback?
Yeah, so we had tunnel tours 2 weekends ago. We had over 100 people come out from the community, overwhelmingly positive feedback. We are now getting requests for additional tours. Right now, we're not accepting tours at this time from the community, but I think for us, it was really helpful for us to have our staff there to show the community the investment they're making in healthier waterways, because these are things that are sight unseen when they're done. So it was pretty neat to watch people walk back in the environmental center and see the look on their faces and get their feedback regarding the tours.
I took the tour. I tagged along with my wife, who's taking the tour. It was a vacant spot. I was enormously impressed by two things, and I've got to share. Both the amount of work that has been done in a short period of time. When you see that shaft and how big it is, in fact, it's one of 4. And then you see the rings and all the equipment, it's crammed together like a Swiss watch, all the pieces. There's no room to spare. But also the enthusiasm of the team. I mean, everybody is just positive, energetic, proud of what they're doing. It was infectious. It was really a wonderful experience.
There was, my understanding is there was a reporter there asking some of the participants for their feedback. And have you seen anything come out publicity-wise?
Yeah, there are 2 articles. One was written in Alexandria Living. It didn't get any quotes though, but that was the reporter that was there that was asking for quotes. And then the other one, we just reviewed an article from the Zebra, promoting the tunnel tours as well.
Coverage on the website.
Yeah, all the photos are up there.
Pictures are good. Very well done.
So we are still waiting on council to give us a date for your tours. It'll be a little bit different than what we did with the community. We gave it a go today with Richmond DPU was here today. The heading's too far to walk to now, so we're using a personnel carrier on the multi-service vehicles to get people to the heading and back. Worked out well today. We take about 5 or 6 people at a time. So we're just waiting to hear back from council on the dates that we had previously provided. As soon as we have the dates from council, we'll share them with the board, but we're still shooting for those July dates. I think it's important to note too on page 5, we're spent $309 million, so we're past half spent on the 615. And then the last page of the AlexRenew dashboard just gives an update that we're in full production mode. Remember, we're a month behind reporting out documents. While we're on AlexRenew, we did also want to mention that we had a meeting with Senator Serval on April 27th to provide an update on the schedule delay. So we provided Senator Serval with 30 to 40 minute presentation. He asked questions throughout, very supportive throughout the presentation. The intent would be at some point, not this legislative session, but next year, to get the milestone extended. So we'll have to get somebody from the House or Senate to write a draft bill and then go from there.
So we're talking 2024.
Yes, next, not the one that we're currently in. Next. So that we'd start probably laying that groundwork. It's election season, so we're in primaries through June. So after June, we can sort of try and get that back on everyone's radar.
Mr. Carl, I know there's a SAG meeting coming up Thursday. What will be the content of that?
Just a general project update. We have yet to talk to the SAG in person regarding the delay, so we'll spend some time on that. And we're also going to talk about the rates like we did with Council Board Work Group a few weeks ago. Similar presentation to Council Board Work Group.
Urge board members to attend, can, either in person or virtual.
And then financial report, just one thing to note, we have been doing some outreach around delinquencies. As we mentioned, we had sent out letters to all of the delinquent accounts. We've been making calls. We're also getting ready to put out door hangers. In the last 5 months, this is the first month we've seen delinquencies stabilize. So the money actually went down a very, very small amount, but we're not sure if that's due to our letters or our outreach, but we did see them stabilize at around 900 and change for delinquencies.
There are only, it looks like there are only 91 accounts that are on active payment plans, and it looks like there are over 1,000 that are delinquent. Are we expecting that number to rise, or do we just not have any idea?
We're not sure. Again, I think for us, understanding why the accounts are delinquent, that our data shows that it's just they haven't been paid. The payment plans are largely commercial accounts. There are larger commercial accounts where we do have payment plans, but unclear.
Any other questions on the outcomes report? Motion to adjourn.
What?
One more thing?
One more thing, we had sent out an invite to have our board retreat on January 6th. I'm not sure if that worked for the board. You may have got an invite from Ms. Huff regarding January 6th, the Saturday, to host our board retreat. We wanted to,
We'll RSVP on that.
and we do a dinner the night prior with, Mr. Dickinson's resignation. We wanted to give a new board member some time before we had a retreat to understand at least have a briefing on AlexRenew and understand our mission, vision, values before we jump into a, charter and a refresh of it.
I'd just like to add, we had the awards ceremony. Thank you, staff, for doing it. I think it went well. And we got a little bit of publicity out of it, not much, but at least a picture with everybody.
Lemon patch.
It got some good, actually, really good traction.
Yeah.
The entire group from Mount Vernon Trail Association then came out for a tunnel tour at the end of the day on Saturday.
We were able to get quite a number of city council members there, and also Don Byer showed up. So we brought Don Byer into the
Picture?
fold, into the picture. Yes.
Always good.
As a politician, can't miss a picture.
Anything else?
No.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? You'll note that the time on the agenda says adjourn 6:45 and it is 6:45. This is characteristic precision from Alex.